Good morning, everybody. The audit committee,
It's closed.
I'm sorry. I came to audit after this fine gentleman, Dr. Lateef, had it for a couple of years, and it's amazing how the audit committee has re-emerged as a very, very significant part of leadership at UVA. And as I look at this meeting today, we need to stop for a moment and talk about this lady down at the end of the year, Carolyn Saint, who, I tell you, when she talks to me, it drives me crazy sometimes because I don't like what she has to tell me. It would certainly help if I didn't respect her, because then I could just dismiss it. But even like yesterday, I had some sunshine news that she quickly didn't water those flowers. And so, but she has an unbelievable depth of knowledge of how UVA works, a team that is able to cut through the noise and say, here's the issue. And so soon this meeting will get turned over. We have a great guest today from the APA, David Resnick, who's been with us in looking at the challenges of UVA. I would have this perspective. As we finish fixing these issues, if this is the worst set of problems UVA has, we have a great organization here, and these problems will soon be behind us. And it's been fun watching the organization step up to resolve the issues and move forward, and I hope that's the theme of today as we go forward. You've got a great team in the audit department. They report directly to the board, and they're very, very effective at understanding the stuff that's hard as an acting chair to step up and do. So with that, I'll go back to my prepared text now. They've done a lot of work this year. They've helped the university leaders find their way through accounting issues of material weakness. The material weakness issue, we'll see if that continues. It could, but regardless, our eye is in clear sight now of making them go away. Are you unhappy with those words? I get this look from my soon-to-be chair.
I'm so happy with those words. Go ahead.
Good. We have a nice relationship, I'm afraid of her. We've established that right away. Mere look in my direction brought total fear to me, okay? So if y'all thought I was tough in any ways, good luck. We've helped universities find their way through accounting issues, the issue of material weakness, and it's concerning that we have it, but it's a great tribute to the financial strength of JJ's team that we've managed through it in the public markets, and we've gotten to the root of the evil in the existing old systems, and hopefully that will be a chapter that we get to close sooner than later. Thank you all for the work you've done to support me and in charge of this important committee, which means they do all the work on this one. There's no confusion at all. They tell me what to say, and I go mimic that to other people. Well, we continue to work to improve accounting controls and procedures. I feel certain the work we're engaged in has put us on the right path. I think we have an absolute, I think there's no confusion between the current and the future here of what we need to do. I urge the continuing members of the whole board to trust in this group, because they really, as much people say they have an agenda, their agenda is to do correct accounting. I have found Carolyn and the team guilty of that over and over and over. And I don't think there is another thing going on there. The Audit Compliance and Risk Committee continue to provide informed oversight of internal controls, financial reporting. I also want to recognize the good work done by Augie Morelli. Augie has come in and really taken charge of a very difficult solution. And I think his first weeks were like, why me? And his second month was, I'm out of here, maybe. And now it's my problem done. That's taken care of. And it takes true leadership to look at a complex issue and make it a tick-off list that gets done each day. And Augie, thank you for a major step-in situation that will help everyone at this table and the whole university lead in the future. Augie's been his team on ERM risk, including the future of work, mental health and safety and security, third-party risk management, and more. Gary Nimitz and his team have made the continual upgrades to the institutional compliance programs. Thank you for all that important work of keeping UVA moving forward. Our agenda today includes opening of the fiscal year 2020.
Tom, can I say something before you start the agenda? I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the board for all of the work that you've done. This is certainly not always the Good News Committee, but we hope going forward it will be the Good News Committee. And you have led with passion and forward-looking nature, and really thank you for all of your time. I've only worked with you for 9 months, but it's been a very fun ride, and we've gotten a lot to do, and we're great companions. So thank you for your guidance as I orient into this role, and thank you for your excellent work. Carolyn wanted to say one.
I did, if you'll let me. I have spent the last 8 of my 9 years at UVA working for either Dr. Lateef or Tom DePasquale, and it has just been the honor and pleasure of a career. I can't thank you both enough for your guidance, your counsel, your wisdom, and sometimes your admonishments. I will miss our Tuesday morning debate sessions, Tom. Every Tuesday, Tom and I have met for the last 2 years, so I'm sure he will welcome that time back in his calendar. But it's just been such an honor. You both embody the spirit and the heart of a fiduciary, and I could not have asked for better leaders in what is really difficult and sometimes not as valued work. It's not splashy, but I think it's foundational to everything that we want to build the future of UVA on. So thank you, Tom. Thank you, Barbara. I will personally miss you, and I hope we'll stay in touch as friends. Thank you.
Listen, in a matter of weeks, we'll be upgraded to a much stronger resource, and she'll say, this is better. So, and that's the exciting thing about it. You know, the exciting thing about this board, it's been wonderful to be part of it, and I know as I leave, there's a better, smarter group with new ideas, and this board deserves new ideas. So that's terrific. I would just say that everything I've worked on here was based on the shoulders of people before me. And they're exceptional leaders. Mr. Murray here broke new ground in most everything he touched. But much of the stuff we do is just a continuation of what Barbara did and everything else. So I would urge everybody to look back, and the core of this, there's these really good employees here that know the history behind everything. And I have found betting against them in knowledge is a wasted bet. That they truly do know a lot of the background. So it'll all be gone, and this will go just as well. So that's the good news on every front. Our agenda today includes the opening of the fiscal year 2024 audit. We're joined by David Resnick, and the APA has been a partner in this. Almost there are times we wish that the partnership was easier for them, and hopefully what we're doing is making it easier for them. So he will be here with us, and on the Resnick of the Office of Auditor of Public Accounts. We will be going into a super executive session after the motion for closed session to vote on. For that session, we'll excuse everyone from the room other than the members of the Board of Visitors, President Ryan, Cliff Eyre, Susan Harris, and Carolyn Saint. Once we've concluded our super executive discussion, we'll invite back into the closed session J.J. Davis, Craig Kent, Ian, Margaret, Nolan, Augie, and Olvie. Everyone knows who's supposed to be here. The reason for the super executive session is hard decisions have been made. We want full agreement on the board that those hard decisions have been made, and then communicate them as a board to the management team. And that's not often that we have to do as a board, but that's going to happen next. And I think the great news is there'll be no surprises as we deliver those hard decisions. With that, Carolyn, I think I turn it over to you.
I think you turn it over to, oh, you're right. So we have a consent agenda.
I didn't hear that correctly.
You are right, Tom DePasquale.
Never hear that
Thank
from
you,
her.
Mr. Chairman.
Never hear that from her.
So we have a consent agenda item to approve the fiscal 25-26 internal audit department plan. All of the information is contained in your read-ahead materials. If there are no questions, Mr. Chair, I recommend this action for the committee's approval.
I just have one comment. If you take a look, it's an outstanding audit plan for the next couple of years, and I think the public and this board should be reassured of the work that's being done. I especially want to point out the work on artificial intelligence and ethical considerations, and that as a upcoming risk for all institutions, especially ours here, and I appreciate the audit team looking at that. So I think that's very important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Does anyone have any questions? I should have probably started with that. After it was been approved. There was a question about the contrary to popular belief, if you pay me off or piss me off, it does not change the audit plan. I see it when you see it. No, they really try to look at audit to every component of the university and spend most of the time in the future. And so this rotates around. If you're unlucky, I guess it comes back to your department periodically, but it's a very, very key strategy they have of where they should be looking. This group is a very forward-looking group of how do we stay out of trouble in the future in risk. And I think the risk side of it is just as important as the audit side. So risk says what could happen to us, and audit says how we're recording what's happening to us. So please get comfortable with the plan because it's key to the success of the board that we are looking at stuff in advance and looking at it in detail. And this group does that. Okay. So we have approved that, and then the motion carries. Let's move to the discussion of fiscal year 24 audit. Mr. Morley, the floor is yours.
So, morning everyone, appreciate you having us here today. The Auditor of Public Accounts are going to walk through the upcoming engagement, but we thought it would be good to give you just an update on some of the progress we've made with the APA and just make you aware of some changes that you'll see as an outcome when we come back to you with statements in December. Primarily, those are around changes to the statements themselves. We are scheduled to go into engagement June 14th. David will go over what that entails, but we've already shared a pro forma statement of FY23 with the APA in a segmented presentation statement, which would mean the academic division, the college at Wise, and the health system will have their own independent columns, as well as a fully consolidated presentation. This is new. With that, we'll have to add additional disclosures, additional footnote statements, and an enhanced management decision and discussion and analysis segments. APA has seen what that will look like, and we'll continue to work with them on those changes. And also just a reminder that both community health and imaging will have their own separate audit that the APA will use for reliance as we consolidate later in the process. I know in previous meetings, there's been conversation as deadlines, deliverables, and a need for better efficiencies. Part of this initiative is by eliminating 2 separate standalone statements and consolidating into one. We are eliminating redundancy as well as leveraging some of the overall accounting skill of all the orgs. We will have a single audit liaison, and we are anchoring on 2 dates. The state higher ed forms are due September 20th, so essentially our financial package should be substantially complete by then. And as some of you heard in previous meetings, it's called the ACFR, I keep thinking of it as the CAFR. The activity financial report for the Commonwealth is due, and we are required to have an opinion by December 15th at the latest. The thought is by enhancing this process and enhancing our statements, we're going to aim for a November financial statement issuance. David will tell you he thinks that's aspirational but reasonable, and I'll allow him to comment. And just caveat, there are several dependencies along the way. We do need to get 9 other audits on our component units, and we are going to be going through a substantive review. So we will update leadership as we evolve, but we are putting a hard target to try to finish earlier than we have in the past and to leverage this new format to be as effective and efficient as possible. In addition to the weekly meetings that we've been doing with the Auditor of Public Accounts, we have also enhanced a lot of our procedures. David can discuss that, and we can do that in more detail. But just, I know part of the previous management points was ongoing engagement with the APA and alignment with our process. And I'm sure David will agree, we have been meeting more than he probably chooses to over the last 3 months. So with that, we can make a change. David Rasnick, some of you know, he has been in our last several audit meetings. He is the Auditor of Public Accounts Higher Education Program Audit Director, represents the Auditor of Public Accounts for the Commonwealth, and he is the lead in charge for our upcoming FY 2024 audit, and he will be walking you through what that engagement will entail.
Thank you, Augie. I appreciate it. Would you mind? Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and see everyone again. Happy to kick off the FY24 audit of the University of Virginia. So I'll start just by going over our team, a little bit of the expertise. So I've been on the audit for 3 years and charged it back in 2018 as well. I have a couple returning individuals, Rianne, Noah, and Justin. They've been Rianne is the medical center in charge this year. She worked on UVA and medical center last year. Noah is returning for his 3rd year as in charge of UVA. And Justin's really been our senior staff for the past 2 years. So they've been instrumental in the past audits. On this slide, I'll just highlight we continue to retain some institutional knowledge with Carter, Austin, and Nathan, all having worked on UVA in the past, and the others all have higher education experience as well. So a little bit more detail about the engagement this year. So as all you mentioned, it's the fiscal 24, so the period is June 1st, 2023 through June 30th. We've already started, as Augie mentioned. I was on maternity leave, still talking with JJ and Augie, so I'm very in tune with everything that has been going on, throughout the year, and we've really started our planning process in May, and as Augie mentioned, we plan to finish and report our audit results to you guys at the December board meeting. You'll notice there's 3 objectives, general objectives, and I'll just briefly go over those. The university-specific objectives are to provide an opinion over UVA's consolidated financial statements. On the next slide, you'll notice there's a slight change. As Augie mentioned, there's only, in the past, we had 2 opinions that we gave, one over the medical center, one over the consolidated financial statements. This year, the medical center is not issuing their own standalone statements. They're rolled up into the universities. And so we will just provide one opinion over the consolidated financial statements. Augie mentioned the ACFR, or the Commonwealth financial statements. And what we'll be looking at there is the DOA attachments, making sure, he mentioned that September 20th deadline, that's when most of the attachments are due. So we'll just be making sure that those are done timely and accurately, and reviewing those as well as DOA prepares the ACFR there.
And David, can you just explain to the board how sort of our statements are material to the Commonwealth's AAA? Just that there's a...
Yep, that is the reason why that is so important is UVA statements, and that your activity is so material to the Commonwealth. We cannot issue the ACFR opinion, the Commonwealth statement opinion, without issuing UVA's opinion. I know a couple of years ago we had some conversations about that. So UVA's audit is integral, foundational really, before we can issue the ACFR, the Commonwealth statements. On the, no, you're good, one more. Back one.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can, back one. Okay. Yeah, just so you can follow it. And then we do have some federal objectives. They relate to Title IV funding, student financial aid. UVA is material, again, just with your activity for the student financial aid program. So we will be looking at that as well and provide an opinion over that in the single audit. So here on this slide, UVA's financial statements, as I mentioned, usually we provide 2 opinions, just one this year. Our main objective is really ensuring that your statements are fairly presented, free of material misstatement, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We do look at each line item and evaluate the risk of material misstatement at that level and design our procedures based on that. One thing I did want to mention is, as part of that evaluation, something we look at is control risk. And what control risk is just that the risk that the internal controls of the university or the medical center will not detect a misstatement. So a lot of times we'll assess it either at low, moderate, or high. If we have low control risk, that means the controls are operating effectively and as intended, and they would likely prevent or detect an error. If we evaluate it at the moderate or high level, we are saying that the controls are not likely to catch the error there. So we're in the evaluation process with that, and with the material weakness that does affect that evaluation. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. As we design our procedures, our goal is to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence to substantiate your balances on the financial statements and gain assurance over controls. Okay, next slide. Additionally, you can see the financial statements table of contents to the right, and I've highlighted the areas that are the required supplementary information. We do not provide an opinion over this. However, for management discussion and analysis and the pension and OPEB disclosures, we do ensure that there's consistency with the financial statements So if in the MD&A they note an increase, we just confirm that that is in line with the financial statements. Okay, next slide. Then again, another thing we opine to is the other information. Excuse me, we don't provide an opinion, but it is noted in the opinion letter. When JJ and Augie write their letters, again, we just look for consistency and make sure that they're in line with the financial statements. We do not provide an opinion over that. One thing that's not on this slide that I did want to make sure I brought to your attention, Augie mentioned the supplementary information where you will see the UVA Medical Center column, the Y's column. So what we do there is we do provide an in relation to the basic financial statements opinion over that column. So what does that mean, right? So we'll reconcile the total schedule or medical center amounts to the face of the statement, so the consolidated amounts, and ensure that what is in the medical center column agrees to their general ledger. So I just wanted to make sure that that was mentioned. You know, the medical center is a significant component of UVA. They do have a separate control environment because they are on a separate accounting system, so we are required to evaluate them separately. Okay, the ACFR, which has been brought up again with the December 15th deadline, I just want to mention, again, UVA material to those integral to us signing off on that before we can sign off on the Virginia ACFR. And again, we'll look at those items submitted to DOA. It really takes a lot of coordination between ourselves, UVA, and DOA to make sure that those are presented timely so that we can get the Virginia ACFR out the door by the 15th. The single audit. This is really the state's internal control report. You guys will receive an internal control report with just UVA's findings and the medical center's findings. Your findings will be in the single audit as well. Again, because UVA is material to the ACFR, and this serves as the state's internal control report, your findings will go in there as well. As I mentioned, student financial aid is material this year. It's a major program. So we will be auditing those federal awards and providing an opinion, which will be in the Virginia single audit. So part of the standards, we are required to note significant risk. Management override of controls, revenue recognition, they're present at all entities. Management override of controls, so even if the controls are operating effectively, management still has the ability to override those, so we always consider that a significant risk. Revenue recognition, inherently risky, making sure that revenue is reported properly in the proper period. And do want to note financial reporting. Because of the material weakness for the past 2 years, we did include that this year and last year. I will say many higher education institutions are having this same issue with financial reporting. The accounting standards, they've really become more robust, which has really raised the risk level, not just here, it's really across all higher eds and state agencies as well. So what we'll do, just to speak a little bit on the material weakness, we'll look into ensure the controls and processes surrounding the financial reporting process, they continue to mature. I think we noted last year, you guys were really moving in the right direction. You have built up some of the governance processes there. Now it's really more about implementing those processes and seeing where we are there. It took years to build some of those problems, and so it's going to take some time to ensure that they're effectively remediated. A little bit about our approach to materiality. We consider what's likely to influence the judgment of financial statement user. We assess risk, as I mentioned, design audit procedures, and evaluate misstatements and amounts, and then control deficiencies in your processes. We'll calculate different thresholds by opinion unit. So as I mentioned, there's consolidated materiality, which includes the academic and the medical center, along with some of your other Ys, some of the other smaller units, and then your component units as well. Additionally, we look at fraud risk. And so we'll interview some of the staff just to ensure that we're assessing risk appropriately. I will note that our audit is not designed to detect error or fraud. That is immaterial to the statements. However, if we do find it, we will look into it. The risk of noncompliance. That specifically this year, the best example I can give you is student financial aid. A lot of compliance requirements related to that. So we'll be looking at that and just ensuring that you guys are in line with the federal requirements for administering the student financial aid program. This slide denotes the internal control report for UVA. We do not provide an opinion over your internal controls. However, we are required to report any findings that we deem to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And we do plan to release that at the same time as the audit opinion. Management communication, really what I want to talk about here is, we're in constant communication with JJ and Augie through the team. We have been discussing issues before the audit has even started, so we have a great relationship there. They're keeping me informed of what's going on, and they're constantly asking our opinion and what we think of how things are going. So we have a great relationship, and what we do when we do find issues, we talk to them, we confirm what the issue is, gain their response, and then we evaluate what's the significance of it. Is it a material weakness? Is it a significant deficiency, or is it just a deficiency that would not be reported in your internal control report? And again, the main purpose of this slide is really, I want to create an open line of communication with you guys as well. If there are risks that you think our audit should address, please let me know. I know I'll meet with the audit chair here in a month or so. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that we're here to look at some of those risks. And I appreciate your time today. And if you guys have any questions, please.
I have just one question for you, and I'm not really allowed to ask questions to you, but I will ask at risk. There's been so much growth in some departments. Diversity Hospital is a great one. It's a real benefit to have the same team here every year. Can you consider making sure the current definition of materiality is correct when you look at these organizations that have tripled in size? So it was a material number clearly 3 years ago. Well, that number is probably 3 times bigger on some sides, not the air number, but the other. So it's my hope that the materiality test will help us in our processes as we continue to work through the stuff as we do it. Obviously, that's 100% your decision, but I know you did a great job on defining materiality 3 years ago. Those organizations have grown substantially, and hopefully the problems have
Sure, yeah, and in our materiality calculation, adjust with your activity as well. So if your activity goes up, our materiality threshold will generally go up as well. I will say if there is additional control risk, sometimes that can bring it down, if there are control deficiencies there.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can I ask one question? Sure. You mentioned that the financial reporting is now a significant risk in part because the reporting requirements have become more stringent and it's been a challenge at other institutions. Have you seen an increase in material weaknesses at other institutions?
Yes, we have. Since I believe it was 2022 when there was a new lease accounting standard, then they built on that the next year with a subscription-based IT arrangements, which was very similar. So we have had, I'm trying to think, we used to almost have no material weaknesses at higher ed. It would be a one-off. My last count, I believe there were 4. There have been 4, and this is just last year. So they haven't been increasing since fiscal year 2022.
you didn't say you were a leader in this category.
But just to be clear, our material weakness is not a result of change in accounting policies.
No, that has certainly been one contributing factor. The complexity of some of the new standards. But yes, yours is a little bit wider and deeper than just the new standards.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the partnership in this. In my tenure here, I've never heard anyone complain that Richmond is being unfair to us. And that's great, because that could be a very different relationship, and you certainly have led us, and hopefully we listen to you in the process.
I appreciate it. And I just want to say, it really is a collaborative effort, with you guys on the board and with Augie and JJ and their teams. We couldn't do it without them as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Dave, thank you. On behalf of the audit committee and the full board, we're grateful for your team's help in ensuring the financial systems are reliable and free of material misstatements. As your audit progresses, we look forward to regular updates on progress and on issues as they arise. You have the board's support and attention. Before Dr. Lateef reads the motion to enter the closed session, are there any questions on the written reports you received? Do you want to hear anything? Any questions at all from an audit perspective? As you join the board and look at all the different parts of this is one area that I think is incredibly nailed down is the audit process. And so it's important to do what I had to do the first day to understand that audit numbers are one of the easier part of audit, right? It implies that the whole risk management is a much bigger part. And I think that area everybody should understand. If you don't understand it, maybe in the next session, learning what audit is here is different than what I thought it was originally, and maybe it's time to re-show that at some point. Okay. If there are no questions, Dr. Lateef?
Mr. Chair, I move the Audit, Compliance, and Risk Committee into closed session to receive a legal briefing on matters related to financial reporting and to discuss proprietary business information related to strategic financial matters at UVA Health. The relevant exemptions to Virginia Freedom of Information Act authorizing the closed session discussions are provided for in sections 2.23711A8 and sections 2.23711A22 of the Code of Virginia.
Yes, it'll need to go to that. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We're now in super executive session.
Medical Center as our controller and chief accounting officer, I think in March, right? And
We're good. Mr. Chair, I move that we vote on and record our certification that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and which were identified in the motion authorizing the closed session were heard, discussed, and considered in closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Susan, will you please read the roll?
Mr. Hardy.
Aye.
Mr. De Pasquale.
Aye.
Ms. Sheridan.
Aye.
Mr. Bowles.
Aye.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Dr. Lateef.
Aye.
Dr. Long. Mr. Payne.
Aye.
Ms. Pillion.
Yeah, aye.
Mr. Wetmore.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank everyone for this, attention to this, and we're adjourned.
Great, thank you. Just to remind everybody, we have lunch upstairs with the Thomas Jefferson conferees.